Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 67th episode of Kayfabe with Keaton. Today, we're supposed to be having Dru Onyx on. Unfortunately, we're unable to reach Dru Onyx, and right now, he isn't available, which is fine. So, normally I would kind of stop this podcast and not talk, but I'm willing to answer any questions right now in regarding to the future of this channel. So get your questions in now. Willing to answer anything. On the last Indie Wrestling Uncut, we talked about the grind of the business and what it's like being an independent wrestler and an independent promoter. Make sure you check that out. And it's on my latest video. You can just find it on the video section, and you can see episode 3 of Indie Wrestling Uncut. It's a very good one where I spoke to Crusher Crossing, so it's just out now. It's one of my biggest episodes yet. I spoke to Crusher Crossing about being a promoter and dealing with steroids and other topics like that. The reason I brought in the wrestling uncut out was to share the grind of the business and what it was like being a promoter at that time. So make sure you check that out, because a lot of my videos are, seeing the matches and not seeing the stuff behind the scenes. Right now, we're getting to see more stuff from behind the scenes in the business, and more than what you're just seeing matches, because I realized a lot of my videos were like that. So it's a big change for 2026. I'll have so much big guests coming on down the line. I'm not going to share all of them because it's a bit of a surprise, but I can share my next episode on Kayfabe with Keaton, where I have John McCann coming on. I don't have a graphic for it because I've been so busy promoting my new documentary and getting my new documentary out of Indie Wrestling Uncut. But I'll have John McCann coming on, who I'm very proud of, from right here in Northern Ireland, being able to be on WWE. He's going to share his stories from being backstage at WWE, and that'll be sort of like a behind the scenes stories from the business of Indie Wrestling Uncut. But yeah, I'm willing to answer any questions. And our first question coming in now is from Wrestling Insider. Who have you lined up? So I can share a bit of them here. So I'll share a few. I'm not going to share everything, just to kind of keep it secret and keep a surprise coming for this place. But I'll tell you a few of them for February. So on Sunday, 8th of February, I have John McCann coming on. As I've already said there, if you missed it, I'll just say it again. I have John McCann coming on, who was backstage at WWE. And finally, we have another Northern Irish man being on WWE. I'm very proud. For someone from NIPW making it. We always knew John McCann would make it, but doing it this early is just so amazing for John. And it'll be like Indie Wrestling Uncut, where we'll get to hear some of the backstage stories more than just the kayfabe in it. That's why we named the Kayfabe with Keaton, kind of breaking the kayfabe. And finally, we're doing that here on Sunday the 8th with John McCann. And on Sunday the 15th, for No Fun Done's retirement year, we're bringing on No Fun Done to talk about him retiring and his plans for the future, when he goes out of wrestling. So these two interviews are going to be quite big for February. And then I have I'm not going to say too much, but I have a lot coming up in the next few months. I'm going live nearly every week, just bringing you more content, more live shows with some of the biggest stars in the industry. It's something that nobody would ever expect from Kayfabe with Keaton. Before, it used to be sort of a local show. We're got on a lot of NIPW guys, and we'll still be doing that. But this time we're sort of bringing in different lives of wrestling and different stories from all across Europe, America, everywhere. It's going to be big. Some of the biggest coaches, and yeah, we'll have a lot lined up. We've even got this guest who you need to stay tuned for this. It's going to be a very big year. I'm not going to let too much out, but it's going to be a very, very big year for my channel. And Wrestling for Life asks, what sort of things will you be sharing in this new series, Uncut? So Indie Wrestling Uncut, the whole idea of it, again, was to, you've seen my matches where post training from NIPW, or post NIPW commentary, and I've had, some interviews with different wrestlers. But I didn't feel like that the feel of, sharing what the Uncut side of the business was. And now for 2026, I'll be sharing a lot of different stories. So Indie Wrestling Uncut is kind of designed to show the grind of independent wrestlers. What people in WWE, they have big contracts to get money. In indie wrestling, normally that's not the case. If they do get money, it's very little. And it's going to be a global series where I'm going to be sharing all the sort of stories from independent wrestling. So on episode 2 there, he interviewed Crusher Crossan, my former co-host. He came over for his retirement match, and he shared the side of the business of being the promoter and the struggles of that, and having to deal with Steve and Larry when he was barely 16. People being on steroids, and that's the kind of things that indie wrestling promoters have to deal with. So they'll be the sort of stories they'll be sharing. The grind of dealing with independent wrestling and how hard it actually is. Because when you go to a wrestling show, especially the wrestling fans to watch this, especially the people who are watching my channel, you see maybe when you get in, you'll see people still maybe setting up the ropes, stuff like that. But you really do not see what goes on, the amount of effort that's put into this. You see people wrestling. You don't see the 6 hour travels over in America. You don't see over here, how people having to go out of their day jobs, promoters having to go out of their day jobs for very little money just to do this for the fans. So I'll be sharing a lot about what it's like, being an independent promoter, wrestler, anyone involved in indie wrestling, because it is a very, very hard grind and nobody's really got to see that. So it's more of a respect thing, but I will be sharing a lot of the dark side as well for my audience. So that's kind of what the whole idea of indie wrestling uncut is, and that's what I'll be sharing. Mighty Molly asks, what were your favorite Kayfabe with Keaton highlights of 2025? It's a really good question. In 2025, I had a lot of great guests. I had a lot of NIPW guys, I had former WWE guys. It was a really, 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 really good year for my channel. But that was kind of the year where I was breaking through. This year is the year where things are getting bigger and better. Indie Wrestling Uncut has been announced, and Kayfabe with Keaton is having bigger guests than ever. But in 2025, my biggest highlight was interviewing Evan Ginsberg, the associate producer of The Wrestler, who was just absolutely an absolutely amazing interview. I got to interview Evan, and we talked about being a part of The Wrestler and being in 350 days, the movie, which he's just amazing, and he's such a talker as well. He's from New York, and he can just talk for so long. I could just listen to that man all day. And you should check that one out with Evan Ginsberg. It's I think it's one of my best interviews ever. It was just an amazing interview, so insightful, and you just got to sit back and listen to all the stories from them different wrestlers. Then I also really enjoyed on Kayfabe with Keaton my episode with Crusher Crossan just before that was actually in 2026. So in 2025 of Kayfabe with Keaton, I got to share a lot of different stories, and in 2025, I got to have so many great guests on. Countless names like Evan, just so many names that you can name off, and it was just an amazing year. And I think it was a breakout year for my channel. I got to have interviews with some of the biggest stars in the industry. I got to interview even Davey O'Hannon, who used to wrestle with Andre the Giant, and then even more local stars. Ricky, obviously, I really have a lot of respect for. Ricky came on. It was just a breakout year for my channel, but this year is going to be even bigger. That was the breaking through year, I suppose, and this year is going to be the biggest year I've ever had with some of the biggest guests ever. So yeah, they were my biggest highlights of 2025. It was a really good year, but this year is going to be so big and so much bigger. But yeah, so and TZS Videos says there's so many cool photos behind you. Who's the nicest wrestler you've met? Share a story about how you end up meeting some of these superstars, please. So up the top here, Ludwig Kaiser. I really respect this man. Not a lot of people were speaking to him. A lot of people didn't know who he was, but Dru Onyx, Ludwig Kaiser is just an absolutely phenomenal wrestler. He's so technically gifted. That's what I love about wrestling. People who can actually wrestle. Ludwig Kaiser can do it all. He can do storytelling, character work, everything. So I went over to Ludwig and got a photo with him. It was outside a hotel, so we went to say one of the hotels at the shows, and I got to speak to Dru Onyx. I got to speak to Ludwig Kaiser. I keep saying Dru Onyx because that's the guest spot come on, so we got to speak to Ludwig Kaiser, and such a humble, nice guy as well. So this is the kind of thing that wrestling's brought me to. I've got to meet some of my heroes in the ring. I've met, even behind me there, you can see the amount of people I've met. Braun Strowman, Charlotte Flair, Gangrel, Carlito. And a lot of these people have even been a part of my channel. Carlito has been in one of my videos, so has Edge. So this channel and wrestling as a whole has brought me to so much places. And even getting to meet Crusher Crossan, the guy who started the NWF, just at my age, the age I am now, being able to meet him and being a co-host of a podcast with him, this is the kind of things that wrestling do for you. It's the kind of things that it brings to you. He gave me his wrestling boots, kind of passing on the legacy. So I really couldn't ask for a better a better life in wrestling. The few years I've been doing it, I've been doing it for about 4 years now, and the length that I've been doing it for and how much stuff I've been able to achieve, I've been very humbled of seeing some of the guys. And even though I haven't had had a lot of matches, I've got to meet some of the greatest men in wrestling just through professional wrestling, and that's what I love about it. And even this podcast, I've been able to interview some of the biggest men in wrestling, so I'm just absolutely humbled to be doing this. Wrestling for Life asks, what happened to your guest tonight? Respect for what you do, sir. Yeah, I really respect that. That you give me respect. It's something that in wrestling, that you look for is respect, and being able to hear that you respect me is it's quite a good thing. What happened to your guest tonight? So yeah, Dru Onyx it was the member from Torture Chamber Pro Wrestling Dojo. So we're unable to reach Dru Onyx. So now I'm just sort of answering any questions on a Q&A right now about the future of Kayfabe with Keaton and Wrestling Revolution with Keaton. So Wrestling for Life, ask away. Happy to answer anything, and happy to answer any sort of questions. But yeah, Dru Onyx wasn't able to make it today, unfortunately. But yeah, next on Kayfabe with Keaton, we'll have coming on John McCann, and we'll have a lot of big shows coming up for NIPW in February. I think it's the 7th. Let me double check. But in February, you have a really big NIPW show coming on. It's studio taping, so we're kind of bringing back the old style of wrestling. The wrestling that was in the studio kind of wrestling days, and we're bringing back the old kind of style in NIPW for studio taping episode 1 in the Lions Den Pro Wrestling Dojo, and it is actually it's the 7th of February it's on. So you don't want to miss that. And even NIPW is Northern Ireland's #1 pro wrestling promotion. Nothing comes close to it. You see the best in NIPW, and nothing ever comes close to what you see in NIPW. And so I wouldn't miss this on the 7th of February. We're bringing, if you love the old school style or you just love professional wrestling, get the NIPW. You can get your tickets at nipw.sumupstore.com. That's where you get your tickets, and you really don't want to miss this show. This show is NIPW studio taping 1. So again, you get to see the old style. If you're a fan of even the modern era of wrestling, you get to see some of your biggest stars. NIPW has such a roster there. Ricky Henry, Sage Valentine, and then we'll have our new guys coming through as well. Tom, who's absolutely incredible for how long he's been wrestling, and it's just down to the training. IPW, even if you want to train somewhere, there's nowhere better to train on this country or on this island than NIPW, without a doubt. So get yourself down if you want to be a wrestler, or even if you just want to watch absolute entertainment. Get yourself down to NIPW. It's for all ages, completely family friendly. So get yourself down to it, and you can. So once again, you can get your tickets at www.nipw.sumupstore.com. I'm just going to bring up a banner for it now. Here we go. So once again, you can get your tickets at www.nipw.sumupstore.com. You do not want to miss this next show, studio taping episode 1, and hopefully it's a great place to start to go to NIPW shows. You get to see what's going on, so don't miss that either. Then we'll have some more questions here. So Wrestling Insider asks, will we see you in the ring anytime soon? Yeah, I can't let too much away, but I will be doing some things in the future. I'll be having a few matches for 2026, and it's a big year even for my wrestling career as well. You'll have some big things coming up. Yeah, so just can't say much, just stay tuned. There's a lot of big things coming up in the future. Darren Whitehead asks, can you remember being taught the Cobra? No, I don't remember that, but I'm sure it was a really good move. Yeah, so that's all caught up in comments. But yeah, once again, get yourself down to NIPW, the best roster in the country without a doubt. And even when you look at the standard wrestling now, NIPW just brings it to a whole nother level. But yeah, get yourself down to NIPW. Do you have any more questions here? Make sure to bring them in. for a Q&A. I'm trying to check here if I have. I'm, I might be sharing this thing. So it's Indie Wrestling Uncut episode 2. I'm trying to see if I've got it converted yet. I'm trying to get it from YouTube Converter. Bear with me. It's not working at the minute, but hopefully can get it converted. It's some technical difficulties. We're trying to get it converted and stuff, but make sure to go and check it out as well. Indie Wrestling Uncut episode 2. You get to see some of the things that you've never seen before. It's topics that people are too afraid to talk about, in wrestling. But I'm happy enough to talk about it because I have that kind of respect for the indie business. So make sure to check that out. Episode 2 about the whole of the NWF and the struggles of being a promoter with Cursor Crossing. I think we're all caught up in comments now. If you have any more, make sure to write them in. So, yeah, this is going to be an absolute breakout year for me, especially with the guest stuff coming up and the Wrestling Uncut and even my wrestling career as well in NIPW. So it's a great year for me. Make sure to write in any questions. I think we're all caught up in questions, but anybody else lurking in the background, if you have any questions, just make sure to write them in. Happy to answer it. So yeah, make sure not to miss anything that's coming up lately. If you have any more questions, type it in, please. Seems like we're all caught up in questions, so I think we'll end it here. So thank you all for watching. I know it wasn't a very long episode, but I just wanted to make sure I got to speak to my fan base today and share what's coming up in the future for Wrestling Revolution with Keaton and Indie Wrestling Uncut. So make sure to stay tuned for everything that's coming up. Also stay tuned for the next Kayfabe with Keaton, where I'll have coming on the last remaining grappler, John McCann, to talk about him on WWE on Sunday the 8th of February. I'll be a class interview about him being on WWE. So that's one you don't want to miss. And then I'll have No Fun Done coming on to talk about his retirement year. It'll be another quite emotional podcast, but it'll be quite good to hear from someone like No Fun Done. So for anyone watching this year, make sure to stay tuned, and I'll try my best to bring you the best content possible. It's bye for now from me. Thank you very much for watching.